Guys, how's it going? I'm losing brain cells as we speak, so I'm probably gonna finish this video, go to sleep and die because I lost so many brain cells. But we're gonna watch another one. Yeah. Anyways, so share my story. They do knock off MSA shit. My teacher and I are dating. Which, whoa, man, whoa. Why the friendzone is not that bad? It's kind of stuff. All right, let's get it, boys.
School when Mrs. Sundell became our new history teacher. There were rumors that she'd been kicked out of her old school for rupturing the eardrum of one of her students. Apparently, that student was deaf, and she blew an air horn right next into his ear to prove that it wouldn't affect him. But of course, it did affect him. His eardrum ruptured, and he had to be taken to the hospital because blood.
I don't know how that's. I've had my eardrum rupture before and get infected. And it's not actually red blood. It's actually clear, if you didn't know. That's
Blood started running out of his ear. So everyone knew Mrs. Sundell was a bit crazy. And one time, while talking about the Holocaust, she suddenly burst into tears. I wondered if it was because she was Jewish and had lost part of her family to the Nazis. But then she explained that her husband had dumped her the day before for a younger woman. To be frank, I thought it was tasteless of her to tell us students about her private life while discussing an event as tragic as the
you got is my opinion on that.
Holocaust. But I knew she had mental issues. So the next day after class, when all other students had left the classroom, I gave her flowers and
Bro's the teacher's pet. That's crazy.
Said, "I'm sorry you were going through a divorce, Mrs. Sundell, but I believe in you." Now, let me preface that I was 18 years old at the time, and nothing that happens in this story is illegal. Of course, Mrs. Sundell was an...
Wait a minute. Whoa. 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 Okay. Okay. Now I'm 18 years old. That takes a dark.
attractive woman, but I never plan on becoming her lover. Oh, thank you for the...
Lover. Whoa. Okay.
No problem. And enjoy your weekend. Wait. I hope you don't mind me asking, but are you free this Saturday?
Whoa. How is this
free for what? Oh, I'm gonna cook some pasta, and I haven't been on a first date in
Whoa.
years. So why don't you come over? Of course, I accepted the offer. Mrs. Sundell was gorgeous after all, but in hindsight, I realized that Mrs. Sundell was also mentally unstable, and that maybe I was taking advantage of her recent breakup. I mean, the first time I visited her home, she immediately introduced me to her 8-year-old daughter and said, "Hey, look who your mom is dating now. He's one of my students and super cute. Much cuter than your useless
Okay, man. That is... Oh. All right, let's pull this apart. Let's surgically remove stuff. Bro, the daughter just recently lost her dad, and then the mom comes home. She's like, "Hey, I'm dating my student now, dumbass." Bro, if I was that kid, I'm fucking running away, man. I'm running away. Peace out, bye.
Dad. Mrs. Sundell's daughter looked disturbed. She was extremely underweight, had dark circles under her eyes, and avoided eye contact. Meanwhile, Mrs. Sundell pulled me on the couch and started making out with me. It felt super awkward because her daughter sat less than a meter away from us, but she knew what to do and left the room so we could be alone. Then, at dinner, Mrs. Sundell told me about her husband. He is crazy! One time my phone battery died, and he couldn't reach me for 3 hours. So he called the police and told them I was missing. Also, he's been stalking me ever since we broke up. Stalking you? Yeah.
I thought there was another guy or whatever.
He always parks somewhere near my house and watches where I go and who visits me. So he might have seen me come into your house today?
She has pasta and he has steak. I thought they were making pasta.
He probably did. And I warn you, he is violent. She said that with a big smirk on her face, as if she wanted her husband to find out about me and beat me up. I asked, "Has your husband ever been violent?" Of course. Just recently, he locked me into the trunk of his car for a whole weekend. Just because I told him that I was cheating on him with our neighbor. Oh God, what had I gotten myself into? I looked over to Mrs. Sundell's daughter and asked, "Do you like your dad?" No, I hate him, and he's only my stepdad. And has he ever treated you badly in any way? She looked away. She was too ashamed to answer the question.
Oh my, call CPS, man. Call. Like, that's messed up, man. That's messed
Okay,
up.
listen, Mrs. Sundell. If your husband is violent, you have to protect your daughter from him.
Well, that's why you are here, to protect us.
It suddenly dawned on me that Mrs. Sundell had the emotional maturity of a child. She wouldn't take responsibility for anything, not even her own daughter's safety. So, after dinner, I wrote down my number on a piece of paper and gave it to Mrs. Sundell's daughter. Call me if you are ever in danger. Then I told Mrs. Sundell I couldn't solve her relationship problems, and that we would not meet up again until she had successfully divorced her husband. I thought that was the end of the story. But a week later, she came into school with a black eye. She said that someone had shot a football in her face, but I didn't believe it and suspected that her husband had hit her. After class, I asked her, "Did your husband do this to you?"
What do you care? You said you want nothing to do with me.
Oh God, she was so immature. I should have stayed away from her as far as I could, but I wanted to make sure her daughter was safe from her stepdad. So I told her I would spend the night at her place to protect them. I was sleeping in her bed when in the middle of the night, someone knocked on the front door.
Oh no, it's my husband. If he finds out you are here, he will kill you for sure.
I was afraid, but also determined. I picked up a lamp, followed Mrs. Sundell to the entry door, and said,
It's alright, baby. Get that lamp, knock it over his head. Knock him out. Choke him. Boys, you got this, boys, you got this.
"Don't let him inside, and if he tries to hurt you, I will knock him out with a lamp, okay?"
Yeah, that's a great plan.
But Mrs. Sundell opened the door, and her husband's first question was, "Why do you have a black eye? Did someone hurt you?"
Oh, don't you remember? You got drunk and hit me.
"What are you talking about? I've been sober for 6 months. And anyway, why did you send me an SMS 20 minutes ago, telling me to immediately come over?"
What? I didn't send you a message. And you can't come into my house right now because I have a visitor.
Oh my God. Did Mrs. Sundell just tell her husband that I was here? Did she want him to kill me? What? You brought another man into my house? You are cheating on me?
We are getting divorced. Have you already forgotten?
Mrs. Sundell's husband pushed her to the side and stepped into the house. I wasn't sure if I should use the moment of surprise and knock him out with my lamp, or instead try to talk to him and explain myself. But I had no time to think. So when his bald head came through the door, I swung the lamp right at him. However, this guy was jacked and just blocked my swing with his arm. Then he grabbed me by the throat and pushed me with all his strength against the wall. He was much stronger than me, but as a last resort, I kicked him in the nuts, which actually brought him to his knees. Then I told Mrs. Sundell to immediately call the police.
I can't do that. He is still my husband, and I love him.
Okay, this woman was crazy. I went home and thought about what just happened. It seemed that Mrs. Sundell had only started a romance with me to get back at her husband, and to make him jealous. So the next day in school, I went to her and wiped my finger over her black eye. "It's only makeup. You made it all up."
I had to. Without the black eye, you would have never come back to protect me from my husband.
Mrs. Sundell was lying through her teeth, like she always did. The only reason
This makes actually no sense, bro.
I came back to visit her at her home was to check up on her daughter and make sure she was okay. We were eating dinner when I asked, "Where is your daughter, by the way?"
Oh, shoot. I forgot to pick her up from school again. Can you do it for me?
It was 8 p.m. when I arrived at her school. The teacher had waited 3 hours for Mrs. Sundell's daughter to be picked up and was really mad. But I felt even worse for the girl. I knew she felt like no one cared about her. I took her to McDonald's for dinner, where she told me that her mom often locked her into her room for days, so her mom could sleep with other men without being disturbed. And I had seen her room. It only had a dirty mattress on the floor and not a single toy to play with. Have you ever been to a playground or watched a movie in a cinema?
No, my mom only allows me to leave my room to eat, watch TV, and go to school.
This girl had been seriously neglected. I brought her back
That's
home,
messed
but
up.
I could see Mrs. Sundell's husband through the window. I can protect you there inside, but I promise we will do something fun this weekend. Because you are a great girl. Don't ever let your mom make you think otherwise.
Can you marry my mom and become my dad?
I told her that wasn't possible. However, for the next 7 years, I've picked her up every weekend to do something fun, like taking her to the playground or just asking her how she was doing. Mrs. Sundell's husband, of course, hated that I was taking care of his stepdaughter. He even almost caught me once in front of their house. I was barely able to escape. The reason he couldn't completely forbid me from seeing his stepdaughter was that I had once threatened to contact the police and Child Protective Services on
Makes
him.
sense.
Anyway, I still visit his wife sometimes when he is on business trips. So I'm not completely innocent in this story either. Meanwhile, the little girl is a teenager now, and she is doing okay. She has been diagnosed with ADHD and is failing most of her
Let's
classes,
go.
probably because her mom neglected her so badly. However, I've helped her find a therapist so she can work through her childhood trauma, and I hope she will live a normal life when she moves out of her mom's home.
Okay, man. Okay, I'm sorry. I like basically was about to fall asleep. But that's some messed up stuff, man. That's some messed up stuff, man. Yeah, that's messed up. Okay, don't subscribe to him. Anyways, I love you. Go have intercourse with your dad or some shit. Whatever you like to do. Just say no homo after that. Say don't be gay. Alright, peace out, baby.